Across the African grasslands, hyenas do not merely forage for food. They constantly contend with rivals that are stronger, faster, or more numerous. At times they hunt, at others they compete for resources, and sometimes they must fight back simply to survive. The tide of any encounter can turn in a matter of seconds. Yet, when a hyena decides to press the attack against the most dangerous of adversaries, what unfolds? Across the savannas, grasslands, and scrublands of sub-Saharan Africa, particularly in East Africa, lions possess heavy, muscular bodies and the ability to accelerate rapidly over short distances, allowing them to close in on prey and react swiftly to danger. When a solitary lion rests on the plains, the quiet is shattered as a nearby pack of hyenas spots it from afar and begins to watch. Upon detecting their rival, the hyenas approach from multiple directions, initially keeping their distance before gradually tightening the circle. Spotted hyenas live in social groups known as clans. This numerical advantage allows them to pressure even larger adversaries. Suddenly, a hyena from behind lunges forward, causing the lion to spring up with a loud roar and spin quickly to counterattack, forcing the nearest hyenas to instantly retreat. As a gap opens, others immediately close in from the flanks. The lion constantly shifts direction, lunging and lashing out whenever a hyena ventures too close, while the pack takes turns darting in and out to dodge its blows. After repeated skirmishes, the lion loses control of the situation and is forced to climb a low tree to escape the encircling pack. The confrontation only truly subsides after the lion leaves its position on the ground. Although its strength, speed, and counterattacking ability allowed it to hold the pack at bay briefly, the hyena's superior numbers and multi-directional approach ultimately gave them the upper hand. In the end, the coordinated pressure of the pack forced the lion to retreat from the area. Across the vast grasslands of East and Southern Africa, wildebeests often travel great distances in search of fresh grass and water. When danger arises, a swift flight response allows them to widen the gap between themselves and predators, enabling them to regain the safety of the herd. However, a calf lagging behind creates just enough of a gap for a pack of hyenas to begin their pursuit. That gap immediately triggers the hyenas to accelerate and close in on the calf. They repeatedly force it to change direction before suddenly lunging into the midst of the fleeing herd, throwing the group into disarray and causing them to scatter. Amidst the frantic running, the calf becomes separated from its kin, and the hyenas quickly lock onto their isolated target. The isolated target immediately faces intensified pressure from the entire pack. Taking turns, the hyenas crowd the calf, forcing it to change course and constantly narrowing the distance whenever it attempts to rejoin the herd. Exhausted by the prolonged chase, the calf is ultimately unable to pull away and is subdued by the pack, bringing the hunt to a close. The successful hunt provides a vital food source for the hyena pack. The prey's meat supplies the protein and energy needed to sustain their activity, movement, and continued hunting across the savanna. This success highlights the crucial roles that stamina, coordination, and target isolation play in the hyena's hunting strategy. Across the vast grasslands, open woodlands, and scrublands of East Africa, zebras often travel in herds in search of grazing and water. Adult plains zebras weigh between 385 and 850 pounds, boasting sturdy bodies and muscular legs built for endurance running. While herd life aids in early predator detection, a zebra that falls behind creates a dangerous gap between itself and the rest of the group. That gap instantly triggers a shift in the hyena pack from observation to pursuit. Accelerating and closing in from behind, they force the zebra to constantly change direction while the main herd flees in panic. The harder the zebra tries to rejoin its companions, the further it is driven off course, ultimately finding itself isolated amidst the intense chase. This isolation allows the hyena pack to rapidly close the distance. Taking turns flanking the zebra, they force it to twist and turn in defense while running, but its strength gradually wanes under the relentless pressure. Finally, the pack subdues its prey. The hunt concludes, providing a meal for the group and helping to maintain the natural ecological balance. Across the savannas, grasslands, open woodlands, and semi-arid scrublands of sub-Saharan Africa, African wild dogs live and hunt in packs. Their strength lies in their ability to coordinate, observe, and single out targets that have become separated from their group before giving chase. Near a small stream, the pack suddenly spotted a hyena lying in the water and began silently closing the distance. Once close enough, the pack broke formation to approach from multiple directions. The hyena burst from the water, spun rapidly, and lunged straight at the nearest dogs, forcing them to retreat to avoid its counterattack. The wild dogs circled back to press the attack, but whenever the net tightened, the hyena would roar loudly and lunge back, disrupting their offensive rhythm. Repeated counterattacks raised the stakes. Despite being alone, the hyena held its ground, constantly moving and retaliating whenever the wild dogs attempted to flank it. In the wild, predators always weigh the risk of injury against the potential reward. After several failed attempts to close in, the pack was forced to withdraw. Ultimately, the decision to retreat brought the tense standoff to an end. Although the wild dogs held the advantage in numbers and coordination, the hyena's superior strength, powerful jaws, and close-quarters defensive capabilities prevailed. Faced with the high risk of injury, the pack was compelled to abandon the attack. Across the open woodlands, grasslands, and savannas of Africa, the leopard adapts to a wide range of environments. Its muscular, agile body, featuring powerful shoulders, a strong neck, and robust forelimbs, allows it to secure prey, while its climbing ability offers a strategic advantage in avoiding competition. However, on the ground, a food source can quickly spark a direct confrontation with another predator. The conflict begins when a hyena, already in possession of a meal, spots an approaching leopard. The hyena immediately clamps down on the carcass and growls a warning, lunging to intercept its rival as the gap closes. The leopard continues to advance, forcing the hyena to simultaneously drag the prize toward itself and pivot to counterattack in defense of its meal. The struggle to hold on to the food compels the hyena to fight back more fiercely. It repeatedly bites and hauls the carcass, lunging in retaliation whenever the leopard attempts to seize it. Yet, the opponent remains relentless, using its powerful forelimbs to pin the food and maintain pressure, gradually stripping the hyena of its initial advantage. As its advantage slips away, the hyena faces a final choice. It attempts a few more counter-moves, but the leopard holds firm, refusing to yield the contested prize. Ultimately, the hyena retreats, accepting defeat. The encounter illustrates a fundamental truth of the wild. Persisting in a conflict is only worthwhile when the potential reward outweighs the risk of injury. Across the vast savanna, a rhinoceros moves slowly, constantly monitoring the sounds around it. These massive creatures can weigh over 5,000 pounds, possessing powerful shoulders, necks, and legs that provide stability and generate immense force during a charge. Since eyesight is not their strong suit, their keen sense of smell and acute hearing allow them to quickly detect unusual signals approaching from behind. Those signals soon become unmistakable as a pack of hyenas begins to fan out behind the rhino. Some suddenly dart in to nip at its tail before quickly retreating, while others constantly shift direction to maintain pressure from the flanks. The rhino wheels around and charges straight at the nearest attackers, forcing the pack to scatter. But within seconds, the hyenas close in again. The chase intensifies as the rhino accelerates toward others of its kind. It constantly changes direction and counterattacks whenever the hyenas get too close, eventually drawing support from other rhinos and forcing the pack to back off. Yet the hyenas remain in pursuit, waiting for a new opportunity. With neither side gaining the upper hand, the confrontation remains unresolved. Along the banks of rivers, lakes, swamps, and wetlands in tropical Africa, crocodiles often operate close to the water's edge. Their ability to learn, memorize locations, and adjust their behavior helps them adapt to changes in their feeding grounds. Right at the water's edge, the food held by the crocodile attracts a pack of hyenas, which begin to close in. Seizing the moment when the distance is right, the hyenas fan out and suddenly approach from multiple directions. Individual hyenas dart in to harass the reptile before quickly retreating, forcing the crocodile to whip its body around, snap its jaws in retaliation, and struggle to hold on to its prize. Faced with these constantly shifting approaches, the crocodile is forced to pivot repeatedly while the pressure from the pack intensifies. After repeated incursions, the crocodile begins to lose its position over the food. Although it continues to spin around to counterattack and attempts to regain ground, the hyenas press their advantage until their opponent is forced back to the water's edge. Ultimately, the pack seizes the prize, triumphing through sheer numbers, persistence, and coordinated attacks from multiple angles. Through every encounter, hyenas demonstrate the endurance, coordination, and tenacity that allow the pack to gain the upper hand against a variety of rivals. Yet, every victory or defeat reflects the same fundamental rule. In the wild, survival hinges on strength, strategy, and the ability to gauge the right moment. On the African savanna, those who endure longest are often the ones who know when to advance and when to hold back. In the seemingly tranquil expanse of the African savanna, lion attacks often occur so swiftly that it's difficult to discern their timing. It's not sheer strength, but rather their timing, distance control, and ability to exploit split-second mistakes that create their most terrifying hunting maneuvers. When everything is decided in a matter of seconds, what truly makes the difference between survival and failure? In the open plains of the Serengeti, miles of visibility and sparse vegetation allow cheetahs to rely on distance for early detection and acceleration. They avoid dense forests because they cannot take advantage of this mobility. This reliance on visibility makes any shortened distance a risk, and it is this gap that opens the way for a close approach. From that gap, the lion lowers its body and adjusts its approach, gradually closing the space before the cheetah realizes it. As soon as the opportunity arises, it accelerates a short distance, breaking through the safe distance. One cheetah detects the danger too late and cannot escape. The other immediately turns to retreat, leaving the target in the closing control zone. While the distance continues to shrink, the situation shifts decisively in favor of the lion. The counterattack is brief and quickly becomes ineffective. The lion holds its target firmly and maintains constant pressure until the cheetah can no longer escape, thus determining the outcome, with one being subdued and the other leaving the area. Once the control zone is closed, the lion eliminates a competitor within the same hunting space. The entire process depends not only on speed, but also on the timing of detection and the distance maintained until the control zone is reached. In the Serengeti's interwoven ecosystem of water and grassland, where water sources and open forests appear intermittently, buffaloes move in herds, utilizing open spaces for observation. This environment provides both food and escape routes when cornered. When a buffalo leaves the herd and enters lion territory, the safe distance quickly disappears, and the risk of being surrounded begins to build, triggering an inevitable chain reaction. From this very risk, the lion pride locks onto its target and divides its approach, silently tightening the encirclement. Instead of attacking immediately, they force the buffalo to turn around repeatedly, exhausting its strength. Each counterattack creates a short gap, but it is quickly filled, narrowing escape routes with each step and maintaining the pressure. As the pressure steadily increases, the buffalo's movement slows down, and signs of exhaustion become apparent, allowing it to lose its distance. The lions surged forward in a final wave, closing in from multiple directions and holding their positions around the target until the buffalo collapsed, at which point the lions took complete control. Once control was established, the lions held the area and food source for several days. The entire process wasn't a single moment, but the result of a continuous tightening of space and sustained pressure until the very end. In the dry grasslands of East Africa, with its open terrain and miles of visibility, wild dogs rest after a long journey. Smaller individuals, including cubs, are kept in the center to minimize risk. And this stable state makes the entire pack completely dependent on constant vigilance. Therefore, even a small change in the environment can disrupt that fragile balance. And that change comes silently. From a distance, a male lion already approaching lowers its body, moving slowly to maintain a safe distance, then suddenly accelerates when close enough. The charge is swift and direct, breaking the resting state, scattering the wild dogs, and in the ensuing chaos, a young individual is separated from the pack. When the gap is broken, the situation shifts rapidly. The lions secure their objective within seconds, while the wild dogs are forced to retreat further to avoid the pressure. Minutes later, 2 more lions appear, entering the area and taking control, leaving the wild dogs with virtually no chance of a comeback. With the pack unable to regroup and the pressure persisting, the area quickly falls under the control of the 3 lions, while the wild dogs continue to move away to maintain a safe distance. In this short sequence of events, the difference lies not in strength, but in a moment of lost control and how a well-timed decision can completely alter the outcome. In the vast savannas of sub-Saharan Africa, where the open terrain allows visibility to stretch for miles, hyenas are widely distributed and often move in open spaces to spot opportunities from afar. However, when hyenas separate from their pack and venture deeper into lion territory, this observational advantage becomes increasingly fragile, and each move carries uncontrollable risks. That risk quickly turns into pressure when a male lion spots a hyena from a distance. It lowers its body, silently closing the distance, then suddenly accelerates in a short burst. The pursuit is decisive, forcing the hyena to constantly change direction. But the distance quickly narrows, and the escape route is gradually blocked. Once caught, the situation takes an irreversible turn. The lion pins the hyena down. Another lion appears and immediately provides support, maintaining pressure until the hyena is no longer able to resist. and the area is then completely under the control of the two lions. When the hyena can no longer maintain distance, the area quickly shifts to lion control, and the two lions hold their positions, eliminating their competitor. The outcome is decided from the moment they are discovered. In the Serengeti savanna of East Africa, where wildebeest herds migrate seasonally, over 1.5 million participate in the Great Migration each year. The vast, sparsely vegetated space provides excellent visibility for early detection of danger. However, this open space also lacks hiding places when pursued. When an individual lags behind the herd, the safe distance between them begins to break, creating a risk of separation from the group. From this newly formed danger, a lion, having been watching beforehand, chooses the right moment to strike. This sudden appearance disrupts the entire herd and causes them to split in their direction. The slower individual is exposed, attempting to catch up, but the distance to the predator quickly shortens, thus continuously building pressure. When the pressure reaches its limit, the lion catches up and locks onto its target. Attempts to escape are brief and unsustainable. The lion maintained constant pressure until the wildebeest could no longer move, thus determining the outcome in a very short time. Once the situation could no longer change, the hunt ended. The lion kept its prey in open space with no hiding place. The entire sequence of events demonstrates that the outcome didn't come from speed alone, but from how the distance was broken and the pressure was maintained until the very end. In the open savanna of South Africa, where low-lying grasses provide excellent visibility, impalas live in herds and maintain distance to detect danger. The open space allows for quick reflexes when acceleration is needed. However, when the herd disperses to forage, their observation rhythm becomes uneven, and this disparity creates gaps that are easily exploited. From these openings, a female lion approaches close enough without being detected. When the moment of opportunity arrives, her charge disrupts the entire herd, causing them to split. One leaps to escape but is caught mid-air, locking down the distance in just a few seconds. Once the distance is no longer maintained, the situation quickly turns to a stalemate. The lion controls its target by holding on and maintaining constant pressure. The outcome is decided immediately. The impala is brought down, and the ambush is closed in seconds. Along major river systems like the Nile, Zambezi, and Okavango, where the water is murky and muddy along the banks, hippos live in a semi-aquatic environment. They submerge themselves during the day to retain heat and come ashore at night to forage. This environment allows their bodies, weighing over 3,000 pounds, to remain almost completely submerged. This constant movement between the two environments makes each departure from the water inherently risky. A single misstep can put them in a vulnerable position. It is at this moment that a pride of lions begins to follow from behind. They maintain a silent distance, not rushing to approach, then suddenly accelerate when the opportunity arises, closing in from multiple directions, forcing the hippo to speed up on dry land, while the distance to the water source remains insufficient for safety. The increasing pressure left the hippo with no choice. It ran while trying to maintain its bearings, and the moment it spotted a pool of water ahead, it plunged headlong into it, changing the course of events in an instant. The lions stopped at the water's edge, maintaining their distance and ceasing their pursuit. The moment the hippo plunged into the water, the chase was immediately halted. The lions stopped at the bank and did not advance further. The hippo remained safe in the murky water, while the lions were forced to abandon their hunt. In this series of dramatic events, the outcome did not come from direct brute force, but from reclaiming the habitat at the crucial moment. The limits don't lie in strength, but in the ability to maintain and adapt tactics to each situation. In every confrontation, the advantage doesn't belong to the strongest, but to the one who maintains the rhythm and controls the space better. In nature, the outcome is always determined by how each species adapts to its own limitations. On vast grasslands, African wild dogs maintain a very tight and stable pack structure. Each individual moves in unison, constantly adjusting their position to support one another. Their hunting tactics don't rely on individual strength, but on coordination and maintaining constant pressure. When approaching a target, the entire pack moves in a controlled manner, maintaining distance and waiting for the right moment. Pressure is gradually increased step by step, not creating a single attack, but rather a sustained one over time. They often target fast-running species such as impalas, gazelles, or the young of wildebeest and zebras, where the steady pursuit rhythm gradually slows the target. In their collective lifestyle, each individual has a clear role in the hunting process. Coordination helps control space and restrict the opponent's movement. This is the foundation of this species' high hunting efficiency. In areas where lions are present, the surrounding space is quickly brought under control. Lions maintain their stalking instincts at close range, keeping their bodies low to avoid detection. They live in well-structured prides, allowing them to control space from multiple directions. The combination of concealment and coordination ensures that lions are always ready to react to any unusual movement. As soon as they detect the presence of a lion, wild dogs completely cease their hunting behavior and switch to escaping. They don't charge, but move in multiple directions, approaching and retreating repeatedly to create chaotic space. The pressure isn't aimed at a direct attack, but forces the lion to adjust its position and lose its pursuit advantage. The confrontation ends when the lion stops chasing and gradually retreats from the area. This isn't a sign of weakness, but rather a decision to avoid unnecessary energy expenditure. Wild dogs maintain their advantage by understanding when to approach and when to retreat. In open grassland environments, wildebeest move in large packs and maintain close spacing to minimize the risk of being separated. They maintain constant cohesion, creating a collective defense against any threat. The fleeing reflex is triggered almost instantly upon detecting unusual movement. From a distance, wildebeest observe and select individuals showing signs of deviating from the group rhythm. They approach from multiple directions, gradually applying pressure without directly attacking. Short, continuous attacks force the target to change direction multiple times. When the pack rhythm is broken, the target individual can no longer maintain a safe position within the group. The distance is widened, reflexes become slower, and they are easier to control. The chase ended when the wildebeest lost its connection with the pack, while the feral dogs maintained constant pressure. In a direct competitive environment, hyenas excel with their endurance and ability to maintain pressure over extended periods. They advance in controlled steps, utilizing their body mass and spatial control instincts to maintain an advantage. The pressure is maintained consistently, forcing any competitor approaching the area to react immediately. From a safe distance, wild dogs observe and maintain their rhythm before approaching. They move flexibly, constantly changing direction to avoid being locked into position. Individuals that deviate from the rhythm are attacked quickly and then retreated, preventing the pressure from settling at a single point. The balance begins to shift when the hyena's movement rhythm is disrupted. Control directions are no longer synchronized, and distance is no longer maintained consistently. The hyenas are forced to retreat, while the wild dogs maintain a continuous pace of close engagement. This is a type of confrontation with no clear finishing move, relying entirely on rhythm. When one side loses the ability to maintain the rhythm, all advantage disappears. Wild dogs maintain their advantage through discipline and synchronization throughout the entire process. At familiar watering spots, crocodiles demonstrate an accurate ability to remember the movements of their prey. They hide, maintain a stable position, and wait for the right moment to act. This control of space makes any close approach risky. While drinking, a wild dog was momentarily off guard. From beneath the water's surface, The crocodile launched a swift attack, securing its weaker target. The pack of wild dogs didn't retreat immediately, signaling and moving around the area to provide support. The confrontation ended with the crocodile maintaining its positional advantage. While the pack of wild dogs were unable to change the course of events, support efforts were made but insufficient to reverse the situation. The crocodile maintained control, while the pack of wild dogs were forced to leave the watering spot. When the environment is still quiet, the impala maintains alertness to every small movement. Its quick perception allows it to detect danger very early and adjust its direction immediately. Its agile reflexes allow for continuous changes of direction without losing balance, creating an initial escape advantage. Instead of charging immediately, the wild dog maintains distance and observes to choose the right target to separate from the pack. The formation quickly divides roles. One group follows from behind, another moves to block the direction, and the rest maintain pressure. These close approaches are brief and then withdrawn, causing the impala's running pace to gradually lengthen and become unstable. As fatigue sets in, the impala begins to change direction more slowly and loses control of its movement. Space is reduced, and a safe distance is no longer maintained. The chase ended when the impala could no longer maintain its reflexes and keep a safe distance, while the wild dog maintained constant pressure. In harsh conditions, warthogs utilize available burrows to conserve energy and increase their chances of survival. They move in small groups, observing in multiple directions and reacting quickly to unusual signals. When foraging, warthogs kneel low, maintaining a stable center of gravity and ready to react. Their curved tusks are used as a close-range defense, maintaining a safe distance. Instead of charging head-on, the wild dog approaches and then withdraws, constantly changing angles to force the warthog to turn. Pressure is distributed in multiple directions, forcing the opponent to constantly change position. When a warthog is out of sync, the encirclement closes quickly and space is reduced. The confrontation ends when the warthog can no longer maintain its defensive rhythm and safe distance. The wild dog wins by correctly reading the movement and maintaining pressure over time. On open, dry land, the oryx maintains composure and reacts quickly to any change. They always maintain a facing stance, control distance, and are ready to defend when necessary. This positioning forces the opponent to find ways to break the defensive rhythm. Instead of charging head-on, the wild dog approaches and then retreats, constantly changing angles to create pressure. This movement forces the oryx to constantly turn and begin to lose its reaction rhythm. As the rhythm slows, approaches from behind gradually open up. The confrontation ends when the oryx can no longer maintain a stable defensive rhythm. Space is controlled, and escape opportunities are no longer maintained. The wild dog wins by breaking the defense system over time. The limits don't lie in strength, but in the ability to maintain and adapt tactics to each situation. In every confrontation, the advantage doesn't belong to the strongest, but to the one who maintains the rhythm and controls the space better. In nature, the outcome is always determined by how each species adapts to its own limitations.